What's up, everybody? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm your host, Robert Durden, and this episode is about how the response from Bernie Sanders versus Joe Biden on the Palestinian-Israeli issue that's going on right now in Gaza is completely different, and how it frustrates me that there are people out there that are proud for voting Biden at times like these when you're getting out of Biden exactly what you would have gotten out of Trump. And anybody that votes for Biden, especially the people that voted for him in the general election, their excuse is always, well, we had to make sure Trump wasn't going to be in there. And it's times like these I like to rub this in their face because Biden's doing exactly what Trump would have done when it comes to Israel and Palestine. And Sanders is actually doing what we all knew he would, and what all the burners were trying to yell in the Bidenites' faces, that he was so much better on issues like this. So I'm going to show you guys two different articles real quick. They'll both be posted below. They're both from Common Dreams. One's from yesterday and one's from today. And the first one is talking about what Bernie said about the bombings by Israel on Palestine and the war crimes that are going on right there. U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders on Tuesday added his voice to a growing chorus of political figures in the United States and around the world who have expressed alarm about Israeli forces' violence against Palestinian protesters in occupied East Jerusalem. "I am extremely concerned by the growing conflict in Israel and Palestine," Sanders said in a statement. "Once again, we're seeing how the irresponsible actions of government-allied right-wing extremists in Jerusalem can escalate quickly into devastating war. The United States must call for an immediate ceasefire and an end to provocative and illegal settlement activity. We must also recommit to working with Israelis and Palestinians to finally end this conflict." So you see what he's doing there. He's advocating for the United States calling for a ceasefire. Now, what's going on at the United Nations right now, Joe Biden, according to this second article that came out today, is actively working behind the scenes to keep the United Nations from issuing a ceasefire statement. So not only is he not saying what Bernie's saying, but he's actively trying to get the opposite done because he's in the pockets of Israel. And Israel is an apartheid state where they are ethnic cleansing and committing war crimes against Palestinians, full stop. You cannot be on the wrong side of this. Okay, so here's what the Biden administration is doing. They are reportedly blocking the release of a United Nations Security Council statement calling for an immediate ceasefire as Israel continues its devastating assault on the occupied Gaza Strip, killing dozens of Palestinians and injuring hundreds more. According to Reuters, which cited anonymous diplomats and sources familiar with the Biden administration's strategy, the United States is delaying the UN Security Council's efforts to issue a public statement on escalating tensions between Israel and Palestinians because it could be harmful to behind-the-scenes efforts to end the violence. One source told the outlet that the United States is actively engaging in diplomacy behind the scenes with all parties to achieve a ceasefire, but the official did not specify how a UN Security Council joint statement, which must be agreed to by consensus, would undermine those talks. That's a great question. And so what you're seeing here, guys, is the United States and the Biden administration is actively trying to do defense for Israel, and they're being wishy-washy on an issue you can't be wishy-washy on. If you don't think so, ask Andrew Yang. You're on the wrong fucking side. And that's why this drives me crazy, because I don't like to voter shame, but this is exactly what I warned all you asshole Bidenites who voted for Biden over Bernie in the primaries. This is blood on your fucking hands, because it's exactly what Trump would do. Biden is doing exactly what Trump would do. He's not only not even intervening in the UN, he's actively intervening in the UN to try to block a ceasefire statement. Going completely opposite from what we knew we were going to get with Bernie, who would have won the election and who would now be the president of the United States and actively getting the United States to bring Israel and Palestine to the table to actually get this taken care of, some sort of two-state solution. But no, you guys wanted Biden. You insisted he was so electable. Excuses, man. You know, it's hard for me not to call you guys out on this, and it does make me wonder, like, how do you look at yourself in the mirror every day knowing that you voted for this guy over Bernie in the primaries? Because this is the shit that you voted for. This is one of those things where it was night and day. You had the choice between voting for somebody who was pro-genocide and pro-war crimes and a war hawk, or somebody who was against all those things, and you picked Joe Biden, that first guy. Shame on you guys. So I know that's not a lot of my audience, but I like to go after those people because you absolutely did enable this if you voted for Joe Biden. And really, if you voted for anybody other than Bernie in the primaries, and that includes Yang, as it turns out, and anybody, I don't know, I think Tulsi would probably be against this, Marianne Williamson probably against this as well, but any of those main 4 or 5 with the Kamalas, the Pete Buttigieg, the Bidens, if you voted for any of those absolute warhawk neocons, you are responsible for stuff like this. You enable stuff like this. I'll give you guys, the people that voted for him in the general election, I'm going to give you guys a pass because, you know, of course I don't want Donald Trump in there. And even though Biden is a D- president, he's not an F president, and he's not nearly as divisive. So I'll give you that. But anybody that voted for Biden in the primaries, this shit's on your hands. You voted for this over peace. You voted for war crimes over peace. You voted for ethnic cleansing over peace. You voted for somebody who is going to give Israel $4 billion a year in aid and weapons so that they can commit these things, versus someone who we knew, Bernie Sanders, was never going to be on the wrong side on this issue. So, sorry to drop some reality on you. You know, if you voted for Biden in the primaries, this is the type of shit you voted for instead of peace. So, take it for what it's worth. Shame on you. So, and obviously, Biden needs to change his tune on this. We need to not only allow the UN to issue a ceasefire statement, but we need to actively use our weight to force them both to the table. And the way that we're going to do that is BDS, boycott, divest, and sanction. And obviously, we have to stop giving any money to Israel. Stop it. No more any aid whatsoever. No more big old weapons deals to the tune of $38 billion, which they gave them way back in the day. Obama did. We're not going to give you guys any more aid, no more nothing, until you come to the table and we come up with some sort of solution that doesn't involve genocide. But Joe Biden's not going to do that. He's in the pockets of Israel. And Israel, even though they're doing horrible atrocities, since they're our allies, it's kind of like what he did in Yemen and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is our ally. Therefore, he pretended that he was going to, halt aid to Saudi Arabia and their genocide of Yemen. But as it turns out, he was only going to do that for defensive, or he was only going to give them money for defensive purposes. No more offensive strikes in Yemen, which means that they'll semantically just switch it and call everything defensive, and the genocide continues, and Biden gets his nice headline that he was actually doing the right thing, which he's not. Biden doesn't give a fuck about little Yemen children or little Palestinian children being killed. He's doing exactly the same thing Trump would have done, which means that everybody who voted for him in the primaries, you've essentially just voted for Trump in this instance. Great job. Anyway, keep fighting the good fight out there. I, of course, know that most of my audience is not Biden voters, so, of course, I don't mean anything towards any of you guys. But to anybody that has a friend that might have done this, send this video to them. Let them have it, because this is the type of thing that they enabled. Keep fighting the good fight. We'll see you later.